Initiating Movieboys podcast. Still loading. Tempest and Ryan are on their way. Welcome. Please enjoy the show.
And we're back. Welcome to another episode of Movie Boys. This is Ryan, and I'm here with my co-host Tempest.
Begrudgingly this time.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I think we might have a little bit of a disagreement today, but that'll make it fun. I feel like we really haven't had a review that we've overtly disagreed with just yet. But so I suggested this because I am actually a really big fan of this director's music. He goes under the name of Mr. Wiseau. He makes some pretty interesting electronic music, and that's kind of how I knew him before this. And I've just had people recommend this really weird, wacky horror movie to me over the years. And I'll give like a quick little synopsis. A homicidal car tire, discovering that it has destructive psionic power, sets its sights on a desert town once a mysterious woman becomes its obsession. And I personally think, and I know that you feel differently, I think that if anyone's listening to this and they like weird, like absurd horror movies, it's pretty short. I would kind of recommend checking it out. I know you disagree, but I think that before we get into spoilers, like since all of our reviews are spoiler reviews, I feel like you probably will get the best experience out of this if you don't know anything going in. But I know you disagree, and so we can get into it a little bit. So how did you feel about this movie?
I don't want to be a stick in the mud this entire podcast, so I think I'm just gonna do like a cross-examination on you and figure out like why the fuck you like this movie, because
Okay, that's fair.
I couldn't get into it. I see why people would like this. Like, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. I just don't think this is for me. I felt like it was very slow in the beginning of the movie. I felt like the framing device of like people out in the like wilderness, like looking at binoculars, like they're watching the movie, but it's just like them watching what's going on. It's like a story within a story kind of thing. Like, I thought that was just not my favorite.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it is going to hinge on. I think if you watch the first 10 minutes of this and you're like, okay, this is fucking annoying, I think that you won't be into it. I think that the framing device of the like kind of meta commentary of the people watching the film surprised me in a way that I thought was fun. Like watching the trailer for this, I really did just think it was going to be like a really stupid, loud B movie about a tire like murdering people the whole time. But I kind of, I don't know. It definitely plays with your expectations, like the marketing. Like I think going into this, a lot of people expect just a big dumb like slasher movie, essentially, no pun intended, but just with a tire. And I don't know what I think you end up getting, and what I liked about it. And I'm not saying it's the most clever commentary or anything because it isn't. But it feels like kind of like a meta commentary on like shitty slasher movies, and I guess I found it like funnier than I thought it was going to be. I actually liked the dumb. So to explaining to people who are listening who haven't seen this and maybe don't plan on watching it, so they have this framing device basically, and it's just a way to have like a meta commentary. It's like the movies preemptively having audience members kind of react like how they would to a slasher movie, pointing out that things are stupid, pointing out that things don't make sense. And I thought it was done in a way that was pretty weird and kind of fun. And I don't know. I think that also by throughout the movie, they sort of end up killing all of these characters off and leave one left. And to me, that was kind of like the director and writer, I guess. I think he did both, sort of saying like this movie, just acknowledging that this movie isn't going to be for most people, and saying like there's literally just one fucking weirdo left at the end with his binoculars watching this, and all the other people have given up on it essentially. But I don't know. I guess I thought I think some people will and I know that there are a lot of, I was looking at some letterbox reviews. You're not alone on this. A lot of people fucking hate this movie and think it's kind of pretentious. But I guess for me,
oh yeah,
what made me like it is I don't think I guess for me, meta commentary in movies, if it's presented in like a really pompous way, it bothers me more than if it's presented in just like a silly, kind of just absurd, like comedic way. And I guess it was more the latter for me, and I was just kind of able to have fun with it.
I think the thing that I really don't like about this, and maybe you would disagree and be like, well, it wouldn't work that way, but here's how I feel. I feel like in a movie, if you have something that's supposed to be comedic or basically like doesn't really exist in our universe, whether it be like the way people act or like the like just whatever it is, I feel like that should be juxtaposed with like normality, if that makes sense. And I feel like you have this tire, which is a sentient tire that's killing people, and then everything else in the movie is just kind of wacky that it makes me like not want to pay attention. If that makes any sense. Like when I think of like the Naked Gun movies and like Airplane, how it's either one of two things are happening. Either something physically is going on that's weird in the scene and then everyone is like the dialogue is like normal, or like the scene itself is normal and then the dialogue is wacky. And I feel like I didn't like that. Okay, like you know how there's just that turkey and the like the hotel room and then just like kills it. Like that to me is just kind of like I don't know. I guess I didn't get the turkey. Like the turkey to me was like the plastic bag in fucking American Beauty. I didn't understand why they needed to kill the turkey. Like
I think that. Oh, sorry.
I guess if you're just trying to say like it's supposed to be a meta commentary about slasher movies, then I guess sure, but I don't know. I didn't like it.
So no, I think everything you're saying, I totally understand everything you're saying. And it's just I think that so I'm a big fan of the Sardonicast podcast, and something that they talk about sometimes when they've reviewed like David Lynch movies, and I would not compare this to a David Lynch movie stylistically or anything. I don't think it's similar to his stuff, but there's kind of like a built, and I'm sort of playing devil's advocate for you with this argument, but I like there's kind of like a built-in defense of movies like this that are just insane and absurd, because like as much as you could say like I didn't understand this and I didn't think it was funny and I don't like it, it's my response is just going to be I kind of thought the very literally like the first line in the movie, you just have this weird random thing happen where this cop car just drives into these chairs that are set up in the middle of the desert, and then the cop comes to the screen and basically says movies don't make any sense. Why do these? And he goes through all these different movies, like why is E.T. brown? And then he goes through all these like random things in movies and just talks about how like sometimes things in movies don't make sense. So I feel like that's going to be the point that either that you're either in for the weird like sort of nonsensical ride or not. And for me, I guess what does work is I feel like I've seen enough stupid shitty B slasher movies that are just like a dime a dozen. It was just fun to see someone play around with that format and just fuck it up a little bit. And again, though, I know that like it's just like this type of style I feel like is difficult to argue against because throughout the entire movie they're trying to set up all these little things like, oh, it's not supposed to make sense, and either that's going to be kind of endearing to you and silly, or you're going to be like, this is fucking pretentious and annoying. And I understand. I get the latter. I think that's a fair perspective to have.
I feel like the little speech that the cop gives at the beginning of the movie is kind of like a cop out, especially when he's giving all of his examples. Like, I can explain to you why ET is brown. Can you? Like, I it makes perfect sense to me. Like, not everything in a movie needs like a in movie explanation, but it makes sense that they make him brown because he's supposed to be like a cute alien, and he's supposed to be like, I think they've talked about him wanting to be like almost kind of like a like a dog or something, like a pet in a way. And so they didn't like make him a flamboyant color, and they didn't want him to be like scary, so they gave him like big eyes, and he's supposed to be kind of like cute. Like that's why he's brown, and then that's why I don't know, but you know what I mean. Like I think maybe you could say, well then, like, well, his speech didn't need to like have actual examples because the whole movie is like ripping on that, like nothing matters. But I feel like the examples in the beginning could have been better. I think there are better examples of like why is this in a movie than the examples that they gave at the beginning.
I think that's fair. I did really like the JFK turn, like in Oliver Stone's movie JFK. Like I don't know. They pull from a real life example of JFK getting killed, and they say like that couldn't have just been an accident. And I don't. There's like I don't. There's a couple twists and turns in the speech that I thought were kind of funny. And I don't know. I really liked the long drawn out like lead up to that scene too. I feel like that kind of made it funnier to me. But yeah, maybe the ET example isn't the best, but I mean I think they're all they're pointing out is like in the actual movie there's really no explanation for it. I mean, obviously, I mean, like behind the scenes, like production design wise, and like the people who design the creature, they have like a reason for it. But I think there's just like with this movie, there's not necessarily like an in-universe explanation for anything, and you have to kind of you're either going to be willing to go with it or not. And there have been, I can't think of anything specifically off the top of my head, but there have definitely been these types of meta movies that do just kind of annoy me, and I don't see the point of them. But I feel like when it is being done for comedy, I'm a little bit more forgiving and am going to be willing to go with a little bit more. And I think if this was trying to take itself way more seriously than it was, I feel like I would have been a little bit more irritated with it, I guess.
I think that I probably don't appreciate this movie as much as you do because I'm not a big fan of the horror genre, and especially like B horror movies. I haven't seen that many, if at all. So maybe I'm just not in on the joke, I guess, so to speak.
It's like a love-hate relationship for me with horror, and I know a lot of horror fans don't feel this way, but I feel like a lot of the time horror can just be really really monotonous and frustrating and just kind of samey. And that's why I do appreciate that a lot of horror directors in recent years have kind of stepped out of that box and have tried to get a little bit more like cerebral with it and make it more character focused, which is not this movie at all, to be specific. But I think that a lot of the slasher genre specifically, it's always, and which is, I think this is there are moments of this where it's clearly like parodying and talking about Halloween, like Friday the 13th. There's just like little visual references, and just having that like basic premise. Like a lot of those old slasher movies were literally the most bare bones premise, and so many different horror movies afterwards just felt the need to ape that, even though it's like there's literally nothing that original about the very first Halloween movie. It's just stylistically it works because of the music and the way that it's shot and the way that it makes you feel like you're there in those moments. Like that's what was so good about it. But for so many horror movies afterwards to copy that style, I just find even the Friday the 13th movies, which you can I feel like kind of enjoy ironically on some level. I think that it's just so frustrating. It was really frustrating for a while, and to see those that style aped. And I feel like movies like this, and there's some other good parodies of the sort of the slasher genre too. I feel like just take it to like a Bugs Bunny level of silly absurdity, and like especially in the finale when they literally have like a mannequin that they've strapped bombs to, and they're trying to get this woman who the tire has been chasing around this whole time to like speak through like a speaker system type of thing to like coax the tire out of a house. It's so just silly and ridiculous and absurd, and I feel like if you do watch maybe the trailer or like the first 10 minutes of this, and you'll kind of get a feel for whether it's going to be your thing or not. And maybe you're right, maybe the reason I am more into this is because I've seen a little bit more horror, but I really enjoyed the like the music and the sound design a lot too. Like I liked the whenever it's, oh sorry, what were we gonna say?
I actually hated it.
Oh really? Well, which both?
uh the beginning where it's kind of like that repetitive thumping noise. I was watching this on my computer with headphones, so that could be a reason why I didn't like it because it's literally in my ears. But I thought it I don't know, I didn't like it. It made me feel uncomfortable, which is may have been what the goal was, but I don't know, I didn't like it.
Yeah, but I guess even not like talking about the music specifically, but just the pow. I this was definitely, and I could look it up, but I'm just gonna make the assumption that this was uh hold on, this was this director's very first movie. Quentin Depew is his name, and I'm sorry, he's French. I mean, that's honestly that's reason enough to hate this movie. So I understand if you don't like it for that reason, also. But I feel like they made do with the budget that they had like pretty well, and again I liked the when the tire was using its sort of like psychic, whatever you want to call it, powers, just the weird warbling and shaking that it did, and like the sound. Like I listened to it with my surround sound speakers, and the sound design was pretty solid. It was like just shaking. I don't know. I felt like it was shaking the room, and there were these also just interesting ambient noises that they were using too. It wasn't just like a weird sci-fi sound, but I just liked the way he played around with all of these different sounds during those moments where it was sort of attacking people.
I think it's fascinating how the tire actually had some anthropomorphizing on it. Like it actually, this sounds so stupid, but there were some parts where I was like, I can see the humanity in this tire.
No, I felt that way too.
Which that was like one thing where I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting, and that's really just down to like how they're positioning the tire, and like the tire will like turn just like a little bit to look at something or whatever, and I was like, okay, that's kind of cute. And the first couple scenes where the tire is like blowing up animals and stuff, I thought the like the gore effects didn't look too bad, but towards the end of the movie, I don't know if you felt this way, but I thought that the gore effects just look gross, and not in the way that like gore looks gross, just in the effect of like the effect just looks gross, like it just looks odd. Like I don't know what they did for it, but it doesn't look very gory. Which again, this is like my thing when I'm watching this movie. I'm like, well, is this like a specific choice because they're making like a meta commentary, or is this because of like budget restraints, or is this because like they actually think that this is what looks good in the context of like a traditional horror movie?
Honestly, it could be the answer could be yes to all of those things in a way. It's hard to say. I enjoyed the effects. I mean, I feel like I don't know. I will say if I were to watch it again and look at the effects and think of it like realistically, I don't. I mean, they're definitely not the most realistic effects. It felt like kind of B movie, like very gory, like very giblety, however you say that. And I don't know. As long as they're not using CG, like I'm not gonna be as bothered, I guess. But
I thought
I don't know. I did.
the crow, when the crow blew up, that I thought that was good. I just thought like
Yeah, yeah.
towards the end when they're, you know, especially that scene where like everyone is massacred and like everyone's on the ground. That was the scene where I was just looking at the effects and being like, this just looks off in a way. Like it didn't. I legitimately thought the crow blowing up and then like what was it, like the bunny? I thought those were better. Um,
I agree. I do think that those were actually kind of disturbing to watch, to be completely honest. And yeah, a lot of the later ones were more like I don't know, just like B movie kind of comical. And I guess again, I feel like I'm probably more forgiving because this is sort of I felt like was trying to kind of be like a parody type of movie, but I mean, you and I don't know anyone could argue that's. I mean, maybe it is just laziness or like a budget constraint thing that could have been better. Yeah, I don't know. It's honestly kind of hard to say.
okay, this is this is very petty, and again, this goes to like a technical thing of like, well, was this done on purpose or was this just ignored? You know, when the kid is biking with that pizza,
Yeah,
he's like tipping the pizza, like the pizza box at certain points, and I'm like, that fucking pizza would be destroyed. Like, oh my god, it would be like fucked up. And there's a point where he like flips the lid off the pizza and it's like a perfectly fine pizza. Then he starts putting like the roadkill toppings on it. And I just remember thinking like the pizza would be smushed, like the pizza would be fucked up. If has anyone ever carried a fucking pizza before?
absolutely would have been destroyed. I actually noticed that too. It was like that. It's kind of like that thing where sometimes you'll see people with like a coffee mug, like a Starbucks cup or something, and they'll just be holding it and drinking it, and you're like, there's no weight to that at all. Like there's nothing in that cup. It was kind of like that. Like when he was carrying it around, it was like, yeah, I mean, it's just an empty box. I know. I definitely noticed that too. That was like that definitely. I don't know. That definitely felt kind of you kind of could notice the budget in certain moments like that because typically you would have
But they had a pizza at one point, so I almost think it would have been better if they actually been like, okay, here, kid, Like, here's the pizza, put it on your bike, carry it. And even if the pizza's like absolutely fucked, I thought that would have been like funny if like he's like picking up like a fucked up smushed pizza like and then
That's
putting
a good
roadkill.
point.
Like that would have been funny. I don't know.
That's one of those details that's just like, yeah, like it sounds weird to say like on a bigger movie it probably wouldn't, it probably would be better because it's such like a small little thing, but like I don't know, just the more the bigger budget you have, the more people you have for like the most like little minute like tiny positions, and you might have someone in the props department that notices that and does a better job with that. But this being such a like tiny, presumably like micro budget movie, it makes me want. I don't. I feel like sometimes those details just get missed in movies like this.
The one thing I know I mentioned this earlier, but I did appreciate was I did think the best thing about this movie was the tire. Like all the different scenes where the tire's rolling around or the tire's doing things. Like it really looked like the tire was actually doing it, which I will commend them on. Like it didn't look like there was wires or like you know what I mean? Like you couldn't there was some scenes where it was kind of like a close up of the tire and you could probably tell that like someone's like pushing the tire from like behind the camera. But a lot of other scenes where it's like a like a wide shot or whatever. I don't know. I thought the tire effects are probably the like the strongest point of this movie, and I kept trying to look at some of them and be like, okay, how'd they get it to like move and then turn? Like, and I was thinking like, do they have some sort of like something inside the tire that's like making it move? They probably. I would be interested to know how they specifically did the tire effects. 'Cause I think that was the most interesting thing about the film for me personally.
I no, I agree. I was thinking about that afterwards, and I was wondering, like, is this kind of like wire work that they're removing in post, or yeah, is it some kind of digital, or sorry, yeah, is it some kind of like robotic thing where they're controlling it? Like, I don't know, but yeah, some of those wide shots did look really great, and yeah, like you said, there were obviously some shots where they were framing it in a way that they could have easily just had somebody like pushing it, but still, like it looked pretty good, and for as much as I've said that this movie is like basically a complete joke, and it is, I do like kind of how seriously a lot of the scenes like with the tire like stalking this person are played out. Like they're very quiet. There's no dialogue. There's no like I think in like a shittier B movie version of this, I feel like they would have added some like wacky or like really cheesy voiceover to like try to amp up the comedy. But I kind of appreciated that it was just deadpan. It was kind of played very deadpan, played very quiet, and just the kind of the absurdity of the situation itself was what you were there to watch, and they didn't feel the need to like play it up like too much, and I kind of appreciated that honestly.
I think in some ways, okay, you might have to tell me what this like. A feature film is like a full length film, right? So like at least over an hour. What is a short film? Like, what's how long is a short film?
I would say a short film. It's so difficult because, but I would say like a short film is like probably any. It could be anywhere between 30 seconds to like 15 minutes. Sometimes they're a little longer, but around there.
I do think that a lot of this movie was a bit drudging, especially in the beginning, and I think that this almost. I feel like this would have been more effective as a short film, like if it was only 15 minutes long.
Yeah, I no, I it almost. I'm honestly curious to look back in this filmmaker's history because to be honest, it actually kind of feels like something that could start off as a short film, just having like a killer tire, like, taking people out, and maybe someone gave him more of a budget for more. And I just looked it up. Its the budget was like 800,000, which is very low for a feature film. But yeah, no, I totally I could totally see what you're saying. I did kind of I feel like it's short enough to where the length didn't really bother me. Like I didn't feel the length. Um, that's what she said. But yeah,
I felt the length, so that's what he said. Um, yeah, I guess I don't really have too much else to say.
yeah. What are your? Do you want to actually go into your final thoughts?
I think that this is a movie more so for people who like either make movies or like really big film buffs versus like a wider audience, which is fine. Like not every single audience needs, not every single movie needs to have like a mass appeal audience. And I think, like you said, it's specifically for people. What I'm talking about, like, if you're going to enjoy the movie. If you're going to enjoy the movie, I think you need to be, like, someone who's really into slasher, someone who, like, really likes film or a filmmaker, and I think you would really enjoy this. If you're, like, not all of those things or not, like, at least... I think you're going to have, like, less enjoyment with the movie.
Yeah, and I think that I guess I'll go into my final thoughts a little bit too. I think that this style of like sort of meta commentary kind of thing can get it can get for me, and I'm just speaking for myself, it can get tedious in certain movies, but I found it to be kind of just silly and fun and unique, and I've really never seen a movie like this. And I think that the just the sort of meta commentary and the just the concept of this was fun and just ridiculous and very over the top. And I think if you're into that sort of thing, you might have fun with this. But I agree with Tempest. I mean, this is definitely not made for a wider audience. I mean, there's literally a scene in this where when they have all of the people watching the movie, they give everybody turkey, and a bunch of people eat the turkey, and they all die except for one guy. And I don't know, like all of these people throughout the movie are sort of commenting on what's happening. Some of them are frustrated and annoyed and liking what's going on, and some of them are not. And it's a not so subtle commentary, just saying like, hey, not everyone's gonna fucking like this movie. It's probably just going to be one weird guy with binoculars, just staring, who has way too many strong opinions about what the ending should be, and who literally gets killed himself at the end. So I don't know. It might not be for you, but if you like kind of weirder, if you're into some like weirder horror stuff, it might be for you. I guess is my final thought.
Oh, something I forgot to mention was that camping was so unrealistic. Like, I don't think anyone has ever been camping. Or, like, was it an intentional choice or not? Because, like, have you ever been camping? Like, I would not sleep outside, like, in a sleeping bag on the ground like that, like, with no tent, protecting you at least from bugs.
I wasn't sure what that whole situation was about. It was like, are they being forced to do this? Is this like are they slaves to this like producer who's forcing them to watch? I had no idea what was going on there. It was a very very weird situation. It was like I'm surprised that they weren't like just standing still like T posing overnight. That side plot was just so bizarre. Like I wasn't sure like what the fuck was happening. But yeah, they were definitely not like realistically camping. That would be torture.
That would almost be funnier if they didn't get to sleep or camp, and they just had to stay up the entire night watching that tire sleep.
I would love that, honestly. There's always time. There's always time for a sequel.
Rubber 2, Back to the Future. Rubber 2, Attack of the Clone Wars. I don't know. Attack of the Clones.
Two rubber, two tire. I don't know. I got nothing this time.
Rubber 2 and the Temple of Doom.
There we go. I like that one. Electric Boogaloo. That's classic.
Oh, since we still have like about like 10 minutes or so, can I bitch to you about the last 365 Days movie?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to like rant to you for a bit. You can, I guess, cut this however you want. So, we did an episode talking about 365 Days, and we also did Spooky Buddies. So, if anyone wants to hear our thoughts, I guess go watch that. You did not see the sequels to 365 Days, but I, like an insane person, have been watching them. And I don't even know if we can put this in the episode, because like I don't want this video getting taken down for like fucking TOS. The third one was so bad. It's probably the worst, one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't know if it gets the top. It has 0 on Rotten Tomatoes. Everyone who made like they should show this movie for like torturing people. It was awful. Every single time I was watching with my partner, and he was like looking down on his computer, and then sometimes he'd be looking up, and then he'd be like completely like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm like, I don't know. The plot has not even jumped the shark. It's like jumped out of the fucking stratosphere. Like, I don't understand. Someone is high on their own supply. Like, someone needs to be like told like this doesn't make sense as a movie, and we need to like redo the script or like ignore these books, or I don't know. I'm part of the problem because I'm still watching these. I can't. Okay. So basically what happens is at the end of the first movie, Laura is in like a car accident and like she's fine in the second one, but she was also pregnant. So then the plot in the second movie is that she's like, what do you call it? So fuck, I'm like so flabbergasted I can't even talk about this properly. In the second movie, there's like an evil twin, and then like Laura thinks that Massimo's cheating on her, and then there's like this rival Italian mafia gang, and the guy's name is Nacho. I don't understand what the fuck is with that name choice.
Perfect.
I think he has an actual name, but everyone just calls him Nacho. I don't know. That I hate stupid nicknames like that. Unless you're in like a fucking war movie where everyone has like stupid nicknames, like Top Gun, where everyone's like, you know, got stupid nicknames. Anyway, so then like like Laura gets kidnapped by the other rival mob gang, Nacho guy, and then she doesn't have sex with him, but they have to show every single like fantasy she has about this guy, and so the entire movie is literally just fuck montages set to pop music of her having fantasies about having sex with the guy, but not actually having sex with him in the plot. So the entire plot there's no plot. It's just her like imagining having sex with him.
It's just all dream sequences, basically. Oh my god.
No, it gets even worse in the third one. Okay, so at the end of the second movie, there's a confrontation between the rival gang that kidnapped Laura and then the evil brother who's trying to get control of Massimo's mob gang, and then there's like a shootout. Laura fucking gets shot in the chest like 4 times, like point blank. There's no surviving this. Like, I don't understand. Like, shoot her in the arm if you want to save her, or make this a supernatural movie. I don't understand why there's no universe where you get shot in the chest multiple times and you get to walk away and you aren't a fucking vegetable. Or need, like, multiple organ transplants. Jesus Christ. Okay, so that's where the third movie picks up, is after Laura has been shot in the chest and she's fine. And then the evil brother gets shot in the other movie, and then they're, like, at his funeral. And you know how sometimes on headstones they'll have an actual picture of someone like embossed or like what do you call it, like resined into the headstone? It was like the most school first day of school photo ever. Like they put on the headstone. It was so ridiculous. And then you know, like in The Room where Tommy Wiseau is like, "You're tearing me apart, Lisa," and it's just like that ridiculous over the acting. Massimo is doing that because he's like, "Laura, you like something happened on that island when Nacho kidnapped you. Did you have sex with him?" And she's like, "No, but I just kind of like fantasized about it a lot." And then he's like irrationally like angry all the time, and then he finds out about the baby, and then he's like breaking glasses, like shattering glasses in front of her face.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's like a thing where like they're still married, but they're not really like doing that well, so like she goes to Portugal to become a fashion designer or something. I don't fucking know. She wasn't a fashion designer in the first fucking movie, so like whatever.
She liked wearing a dress, so that was the foreshadowing.
They did go shopping in the first one. So
they did. They went shopping. That was all the foreshadowing you need, apparently.
So then she gets to her new job being a fashion designer in Portugal, and someone is just fucking like on like a table, like in like the workroom for like building the dresses or whatever, and it's just some random like someone who works for her, I guess, and then she walks in on them fucking, and then the girl's like, "Okay, I guess you have to go," and then she's like, "That's my new muse." It's like, it doesn't make it, like there's no like connection to anything. It's just like, we just want to show graphic sex in this movie and have it just not make any sense or matter at all with the characters whatsoever. And then because they're like on the rocks in their relationship, they're like not really cheating, but like kind of cheating with each other. And Massimo goes to like a you know, like a back room at like a high-end strip club, and there's like girls wearing gimp masks, like blowing people, and like you see them like fucking people like all around him, and it's so disturbing. It's just absolutely disturbing looking. Also, someone gets a blowjob in the scene, and I don't think they know what blowjobs are. Like, I don't know
like
what
that scene on the plane in the first one, or is it
worse?
Even worse.
Yes, even worse. Like, I don't know what they were doing whatsoever. And then they keep doing more and more and more like sex fantasy montage scenes where it's like Laura and Nacho, and there's one where okay, so you know when like rich white women do pregnancy photo shoots where it's like really ethereal, and then there's like gossamer like curtains or whatever, and they're like wrapped around the body, and like there's like wind and it's all like flowy. Okay, so imagine that, but it's like nighttime and there's candles and then people are fucking.
Oh. Oh
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I know.
What the fuck?
Okay, I think I'm probably blacked out for other parts. I know that I'm probably like missing a whole bunch of other parts. Okay, but basically, this movie ends with like Massimo and Laura on a beach, and they're he's like, "Do you want to make this work, or like, are we gonna make this work?" And she's like, "I don't know." And then it like fades out. You know when like the camera like pans up and it's like an overhead shot. So it ends on a
Yeah.
cliffhanger. And I looked this
course.
up. I looked this up, and apparently they're teasing making a fourth one.
Of course they are. God damn it.
Yeah.
And so you're going to be so what you're telling me is you're going to be back in a year and you're going to be ranting about it to me again in Tempest's 365 days rant corner.
I think I might have to just break the cycle and just not watch the fourth one, because like I can't keep doing this. It's like self-harm. Like
I respect that, honestly. Hearing you rant about it is definitely more. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it's more entertaining than actually watching the movies itself. So it is entertaining.
I feel like there's actually parts of the first one which are actually kind of like funny as far as like a movie goes. Like I know you said there was a lot of graphic sex in there, but there's actually like a plot and things are going on in that movie, as stupid as they are. The next two movies are just a train wreck. It's like someone who's like only directed porn before was like, I can direct a movie now? I better stick close to my roots so like I don't stray too far from I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It's so ridiculous. I can't. I can't even like properly talk about this. I'm so like flustered.
Yeah, like for example, I would love, and yeah, the first one had its moments and was pretty funny. Like it definitely had its moments, and I think that, I mean, I don't know if I would. Would I watch it? Would I watch a sequel to The Room? Probably. Yeah, I'd probably check it out. But I don't think we need that. Like I think that as a one and done thing to laugh at, it's good. But like I don't know if I need like however many more, like 4 more hours of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't. I honestly, I was telling my friend the best thing about this movie is if you wanted to play a prank on someone. So let's say that you're in like a new relationship and you're dating someone who they don't really like know, they haven't seen that many movies, or they just want to like get into movies, and you set up like the first couple months of showing them actual good movies, like, oh, I really like this director, or I really like this cast, or this movie won a whole bunch of Oscars, or this is a really critically acclaimed movie, and you start to build their trust. You start to build their trust and thinking like, wow, my new partner, like this person I'm dating, we're having a lot of fun. I'm getting to watch all these new movies. And then you're like, yeah, I want to invite you over and I want you to like see this movie. Like it was like #1 on Netflix. Like it's so good. And then you have to be able to fucking sell it. So you got to be able to like actually sit there and like not fucking laugh or like get distracted by their facial expressions. And then you just have to be like, I love this movie so much. And then you just put on the 365 Days movie and you just watch their face contort as they're trying to like figure out like if you're being serious or not. Like that's the only good thing about this movie, is if you wanted to do that. Everything else is just no.
That would be really fun, honestly, to just sit there and just play it totally deadpan. And if they start making faces at you, just go like, "Oh wait, what's wrong? You're not enjoying it? Are you okay? Oh, I can explain what's going on if you don't understand." Just be like really condescending.
Yes. This movie is only good for gaslighting people. That's it.
I love that. I make this joke too often, but yeah, that's something that I would love to see on the poster. It's like, this is only good for gaslighting people.
Oh my god.
Tempest, two thumbs up. Only good for gaslighting people.
Do you want to gaslight your partner? Show them the 365 Days trilogy. Oh god.
Yeah, you like, I don't know, just have the ads be like a really like a QVC style sales pitch.
God.
Do you want to gaslight your partner?
Call now.
Even better, just edit it like a Tim and Eric sketch.